Greetings and welcome to the Vortex. I'm your host Daniel Jones, and I'm glad to be here with Derrel Sims, the alien hunter.
Wonderful.
Glad to be here. We just finished up with the Sky Dancer, a native UFO con here in Houston, Texas for the first time. A really great event. So Derrel, run us through what today was like, some of the speakers and topics that we covered today.
The conference was wonderful. We had Native American speakers. We had Cliff Mahooty, a Zuni medicine man. We had Stan and his buddy, the two Navajo Rangers. These guys are just awesome. We had so much fun. I've never seen so much enthusiasm in a conference in my entire life. This was a total success. Well, unfortunately, we've been double booked, and we had so limited tickets for seating. It was standing room only, and there was a lot of people standing. They wanted to see what was going on. It was wonderful.
Yeah, really great turnout for our first time event, and it's something that I know a lot of people are interested in because it's not just your typical UFO themed conference. We actually had the native perspective, and that brings a lot of different insights from a number of cultures from this area. So it's good to have this kind of variety with something that a lot of people may not know too much about.
That's true. I presented from the Cherokee perspective and went into some of the culture and even how because we had a lot of people out there that have a native background, and some people call them part Indian. I don't know what part that would be. It's like being part white. What part is that? So either you are or you're not. And a lot of people were really excited about it because for my particular aspect, I wanted them to be part of that family. And a lot of us are part native in the sense of the word, have some background in the native bloodline or culture. And so we try to make it as inclusive as possible for them. And I told them about ways you can actually check and if you can call it universe or God or whatever you want to call it, if you're in tune with that, if you actually are pursuing your native background, so I think that the things will be shown to you, and it certainly was with me in my life. And I gave illustrations of that, but that was not to highlight me, it was to highlight people. This might be a direction that you might want to pursue. And the UFO information was wonderful because it came from the police perspective, intelligence perspective, the Zuni medicine man perspective, and a lot of philosophical questions came up. For 2.5 hours we sat there and answered questions from the audience, and there were great questions, really, really decent stuff.
Yeah, we covered quite a bit of information ranging from not just typical UFOs, but the ideas that ETs or aliens could not just be from elsewhere, but maybe even here. We just don't know exactly what's going on just yet, or maybe even bringing in pictures like Bigfoot or other different paranormal activity kind of with the Rangers like you were mentioning. So a great collection of different topics to really garner everyone's interest today. It was really good. And you, of course, you've been at this for a number of years now. Just for those who may not be too familiar, share a little bit about how you got started with hunting aliens altogether.
Well, the first primary method that I was involved in was the fact that I was a captive audience at age 4 in Midland, Texas, and I remember the entity coming in, and all my events happened, the abduction events were about 10 of them over a 13-year period. Age 17, they ended violently, and I thought, well, this is great, maybe it's all over. But then they came back and got my son. That changed me from a victim to a hunter. And so I hunted them that hunted me and later hunted my son. If you mess with me, abduct me or whatever, I can deal with it. I'm a big guy. You mess with my children, I'll hunt you down. I mean, I have no respect for anybody or anything. I don't care what planet you're from. I don't care. You mess with my kids, now you've done the wrong thing. You should have stayed with me.
Yeah, so once family came into the picture, it kind of changed things up a bit. So
Indeed.
Not a lot of people would be willing and maybe courageous enough to pursue this type of field or body of work when it comes to the unexplained, or not really knowing exactly what we're dealing with, and that could frighten some people. But I think you take a really interesting approach and looking at this in a way that we could be dealing with things that might not seem very nice. Maybe some are nice, but we still need to figure it out and do what we can to get more awareness in this issue and see what all what all is involved. If it's government or if we have other issues that we're not addressing. So I think that you bring a lot of interesting parts into the picture. But one thing I'd like to see, if you could share a little bit on, is you've done a lot of work with people. After you've had your own experiences, you go in and you've encountered others who've had something similar happen, and you get with them, and they find some resolve in being able to talk with someone who knows what they're talking about. They don't feel like they're ridiculed in a way that they can say these things openly. And we find out sometimes that they might have something remaining after an experience, which you'll go in later and let them know if it could be, well, what some might say is an implant or something of that. So tell us a little bit about what your work has been like in detecting implants and working with patients who could potentially be dealing with something like this.
Well, implants are extremely rare, and the audience should know that. Implants are extremely rare. And many people think they've had contact experience, all think they've got at least 1 or 2 or 10 implants. It's just not true. I look at hundreds of x-rays every year, and I assure you, 99% of the people do not have an implant. If they do, I'm very interested. There's no question about that. But everybody thinks they got one, and they just don't. The bottom line is that there are all kinds of ways you can check, and we presented this in the conference. You can check yourself and look for evidence if you've had physical contact in an event, which is much more likely. The alien leaves a fluorescent trace on you. Think of it as alien sweat, an alien fingerprint. They leave these markings upon you, and you can't wash them off, can't get them off. If you can, don't call me, you're wasting my time. If you can't get them off, and we have one person who was here tonight, which is fascinating, said he had prints all over him, and he said, I don't know what to think about that. And I said, photograph them, check all this out, scrub it, clean as best you can, and if you can get them off, don't call me. If you can't, I want to know about it, but I want to see the photography and so on. And I gave him a black light because I wanted him to check himself. We met a lot of people tonight that had all kinds of horrific experiences. Some of them good, some of them it seemed to be positive, and it doesn't matter to me whether good, bad, or whatever. It's just data, it's information. And as an ex-cop intelligence operative, this is what we're looking for, is information. And the information will tell the story itself. I don't need people to pat the aliens on the head and say, well, mine were all good or mine were all bad. I don't care about that. That's not it's the data. It tells us the story, not our emotional input on the situation. That's not the truth of it. That tells us how well they may have manipulated or how you may need to see them, so to speak. May not necessarily be what they are, what they're doing.
Yeah, you bring up some really good points, and people always question. They think, well, if there's aliens out there, or people are having abduction experiences, or they're seeing UFOs, where's the evidence? Where's the physical proof? And working with people who do feel there's some real trauma in these experiences, and they might even have a surgical removal that you can be a part of, I would think that these kinds of things are what we need to be looking at. And so these issues of where's the proof, where's the physical evidence? Well, when we're dealing with something like an implant, that right there is an incredible piece of information or data. Like you're saying, that we don't have to be emotional or sensational about, but we can actually see, okay, this is the substance that we're dealing with, and it could be very indicative of something of exotic nature or extraterrestrial nature or whatever else it might be. Meteoric in nature, like we were talking about earlier. So there's a lot of different things that can be found with these implants that suggest something different.
Virtually.
And the markings, as you had mentioned throughout your presentation as well, that are left on the skin, the phosphorescence, that's another really interesting way to be able to see something that, with a black light, that people probably would never even think to do. So these types of physical traces are a big element, and I think our overall understanding of what we're dealing with. And then the next thing I'd like to kind of touch upon is you talk a lot about these screenings and how we have these screened memories, and for those who have these experiences, they might not have a total recall or maybe even any recall because of being presented with maybe even false memories or ideas about a situation. So could you touch upon that a little bit?
Well, the alien is the master of the false memory syndrome. When I say that, I mean they leave imagery with even children of teddy bears and things like that in the room, talking to them, and they're real. And it's, well, how's that happen? Usually these events start at a very young age because that's where the programming starts. They use imagery that you can trust or live with and like. And every time they come in, then instantly you go into the trance or into their state so that you're easy to manipulate. And if you have enough of those quote-unquote positive ones, you become a contactee. If you rebel against that, as I did, and realize, wait a minute, somebody pulling my chain here. This is called abduction. This is kidnapping. You know what? If there are good kidnappers and there are bad kidnappers. You know, I've been a police officer for years, and every kidnapping case I've ever run, no one ever told me that. It's just saying there are good kidnappers and bad kidnappers. Don't be harsh. No, why is it that when a human being kidnaps somebody, it's a crime, go to jail for the rest of your life? An alien does it with large black eyes, little short body and everything. It's okay. It's cosmically correct. I don't understand the logic.
There's a lot of confusion when it comes to this, and I think it's important to have figures such as yourself to shed light upon these really troubling and challenging issues, which most people don't know anything about. So I just want to leave you with this. For those who are experiencing something of this nature, what do you recommend for them who are completely oblivious to UFO research or anything like this? And then for those who are interested, where can they go to follow up with your work?
Well, one of the best things they can do, in my view, is to contact me directly on alienhunter.org, which is my website, and you can click on Alien Hunter and it emails me correctly, immediately, and tell me your situation, and I'll be glad to help you with it. If I don't return your email within a week, email me again because I didn't get it. I answer every email that comes in to my office. Every email, I don't care how many I get. So I might be backed up from conferences or something like that, but I will get to your email. And if I haven't in a period of time, email me again because I didn't get it. Because I do respond to everybody. Alienhunter.org will get you there every time.
All right, well, I know you're on the road a whole lot. This is a great opportunity for anyone to really find out what they could be dealing with in a very safe way, that they don't feel it as invasive. He's not going to do anything that you don't feel comfortable with. I know you're really good about that. So I just want to say it's been a great honor to be able to get together with you again, Derrel. And so we're going to look forward to seeing you again soon. So thank you a whole lot for doing this. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time in the Vortex.
If you liked this video, be sure to check out our other content and get connected on our page and social media sites. Every day, new discoveries are being made all across the world and beyond, so let's work together to find out what's next. And remember, we won't know if we don't go. I'll see you in the Vortex.